I only want temporary capitalism, true capitalism, as a means to an end. That end is absolute freedom. But what happens when you want in one hand and crap in the other? See, that's why I do what I do. Try to inform people, try to educate people about the basics of economics so you can know the difference, the 180-degree difference between crony capitalism, which is fascism. It's communist, it's totalitarian, it's authoritarian, and true capitalism. Okay, it's night and day. There's no it's apples and oranges. It's a pile of dog crap versus filet mignon. I mean, there's no comparison. It's the opposite. It's antithetical. The antithesis. The diametric opposition. What don't people understand about the fact that one is either part of the solution or part of the problem? What is hard to understand about that, folks? That's the reality. How long has that little truism, that little idiom being bandied about? For a long time. But it's true. You're either part of the solution or part of the problem. It's just like Rich Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. Here's how you can be rich. Become one of us, man. You can't beat them, join them. Right? While the problem gets worse, homelessness grows, the wealth and income disparity grows, the problem gets worse, and it's untenable. Absolutely evil. Absolutely evil. So you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Sorry, folks. There is no middle ground anymore. It's humanity versus inhumanity. And just remember, it's not your life. And you will face one. You will stand before your owner, the Creator God Almighty, in whatever form that takes, as an analogy, before standing before God. And you will answer for your belief system. And it better hold water. You better have oil in your lamps. You better have some silver. It better not all be dross and BS, nonsensical rationalizations, psychobabble, rattling around in your head, or my head for that matter. I'm very concerned that I am on the right track, that I am really engaged in true reality, that I'm very sincere, very genuine. And, I'll give my life for the cause because I'm giving my life for humanity. I'm giving my life for God. There's no better cause than that. That's all I have to give, folks. And yes, I'll stand in the face of the establishment, but I'm totally nonviolent. Nobody in the world has anything to be threatened by a guy like me. I'm offended by the idea that anybody would be, and Jesus must be too. But those are the ones, those are the establishmentarians that love their lives in this world, that revel in the injustice and the income and wealth disparity, all these evils that are caused. Remember, it's all on their heads. All the dubious war, all the crime, all the vices, the abortions, the prostitution, the debt, all these problems that ensue from the injustices, and it's all the money. Monetary injustice has caused all these problems. What we must really believe is that God is not an a-hole, and that he's not stupid, but he's certainly not an a-hole. He's a good God, and his name is going to be wholly vindicated throughout the land. Nothing bad has ever been God's fault. Only if you could say, well, it was bad that he gave us free will, because then that caused the fall of man and the knowledge of good and evil and this curse that befell us. No, what's he supposed to do? He wasn't creating a bunch of automatons. He had no choice. What, are you going to put God between a rock and a hard spot? No, nothing bad is God's fault. Never was, isn't today, and never will be. His name is going to be wholly vindicated throughout the land. He has been far from patient and restrained in dealing with Satan and all the manifestations, all these people, these witting and unwitting minions thereof, okay? And all the horrors that have ensued because of it. Whether real or perceived, when your self-interests are threatened by the truth, will you choose to live a lie? A lot of people do. They say, you know what, I just can't deal with it. Ignorance is bliss, bury my head in the sand. Not my problem. Albeit, I have what may fairly be called, I may be fairly what's called hyper-liberal solutions. If the solutions are fiscally prudent and conservative, who really gives a crap? But again, like I talked about, buying people houses. Solve the problem. Your taxes will eventually go down. But right now, the way it is, you're paying your taxes and feeding the problem, feeding Robert Kiyosaki, rich dad out there, and his ilk. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing right now, creating homelessness, unaffordable housing. How do you think? You think fixing prices, manipulating markets, and colluding with special interest groups, you think that's not going to cause problems? You think that's not part of the problem? Yeah, and you think you're being honest? Well, you're on your own. Crony capitalists, fascists, thieves, and financial rapists are a huge part of our problems. They are like big fat maggots in America's ointment. We have become far too overly accepting of the incremental moving of the Overton window. I see it everywhere, man. I see really good, decent, upright people accepting this crap. Eventually and inevitably, all authority will be deferred upon God alone. That's right. Authority. Define authority. Consider how profoundly, how dramatically different our paradigm, our reality would be if God got his way. Who would be so foolish as to deny that they, quote, want us, quote, at each other's throats, aka acutely divided? That's what they want. They want us acutely divided, irreparably divided, irreconcilably divided. It's not intelligence or IQ that's so important. Rather, it is honesty and integrity that are so important. Having a friend simply by being a friend is as good as it gets. Believe it or not, according to King Solomon, our labors are the greatest satisfaction we can derive in this life. So who is most culpable in the destruction of humanity's social, political, and economic fabric? The cucked or the cuckers? You decide. How do you think you're being cucked? You're being used as livestock, farm animals, rent, mortgage, tax slaves. You dumb cuckers. When we the people gain full control over the money printing operation, that is the day we have begun to come out of our cucked state. Due to training and coupled with pseudo pride and false beliefs, people refuse to see that they too are cucked. So due to market manipulation, your house went up in value, quote, and that's a good, quote, thing. That's what the mainstream media tells us. Yet simultaneously, your currency commensurately fell in worth. So is that also a good thing? And please do explain how the debasement of your currency is a good thing. Serving our fellow man, believe it or not, but that's about as good as it gets. When will we admit civilization has devolved into little more than one big fat cucked ship of fools? This human-caused climate change hoax is a veiled war on humanity, an open assault upon reality. What concerns do you have about a soon-coming time when Jesus rules over the affairs of men? You better abandon those concerns. Mass subconscious capitulation to the sinister movement of the Overton window. Why dissent is the highest form of patriotism. Well, I went into that earlier, so I'm going to end the tape right now. My tape is running out anyhow, so best to everybody. I mean that with every fiber of my being. And warn others. You know, all you InfoWars reporters, anybody out there that's listening, you know, please get on the side, the right side of this thing, right side of history, the side of humanity. There's only two choices, folks. Forget all the terms being bandied about there that are just served to divide us more. The ridicule, the taunting, the teasing, the belittling. And just give a damn, okay? Just give a damn. Be passionate and give a damn. And help other people to understand. When you believe they don't understand, for crying out loud, explain to them as best as you can. Explain to them economic matters. And base it on substance, base it on logic, base it on math, base it on the economic teachers of the past, the greats like Adam Smith. Read his book, The Wealth of Nations. Okay, so until next time, have a nice day and a nice weekend, and we'll talk again, I hope. And God bless everybody. Best everybody.